I am only interested in the safety of all citizens. Dovin Baan from Burn. Perfection is a concept that often seems to be unreachable. Meticulous planners try to account for every possibility, but miss a crucial detail. Great artificers create works of wonder, mighty machines marred only by a single critical flaw. Lifelong fighters strain to hone their body into the ideal weapon, yet fall into the trap of over-specialization. But the perfect body can be achieved. The perfect machine can be built. The perfect system can be implemented. And for those who possess this knowledge, anything less than perfection simply won't do. Often, when a planeswalker spark ignites, they set out on a journey across the multiverse, experiencing the many different worlds the cosmos has to offer. But not all planeswalkers choose the life of the mystic nomad. They choose to stay rooted in one place, a world that has grown to mean something to them. Some even decide to stay on the plane of their birth, protecting it in what ways they can, and using their skills to better help the people living there. Dovin Baan has spent most of his life on his home plane of Kaladesh, the world of ether and inventions. As a vedalken, he possessed a mind predisposed towards knowledge and calculated decisions. But as a planeswalker, he found that his specialty lay in analysis. Dovin had a great talent for analyzing and finding flaws in whatever he observed, a talent he would cultivate and improve over time with practice and magic. By studying a device, Baan was able to identify weaknesses in the design, weaknesses that he could improve or exploit. But artifice was not the only use of this talent. Dovin Baan could apply his analytic skill to plans, laws, even other people. With his ability, the vedalken was able to see and understand the weaknesses of whatever he desired. This analytical ability allowed Dovin Baan to find a position in the consulate, the ruling body of Kaladesh. Here, Baan was able to put his talents to work assisting the people of his world during perhaps its greatest era. Dovin's vedalken nature and analytical mind may have made him seem cold or even distant, but in truth, what he cared about most of all may have been the upholding of peace on Kaladesh. As the Minister of Inspections, his job ensured that not only were devices up to code, but that they were not potentially dangerous to their inventors or bystanders. As the Inventors' Fair of Girapur drew close, Baan would take on the position of Head Inspector, a task that involved examining innovations as they entered into the competition. With this new position came a concern, however, as whispers reached the consulate's ear, whispers of the Renegades and their plans to attack the fair. These rebels, believing the consulate to be a corrupt organization, have proven to be a threat in the past, and so the consulate took steps to minimize their risk to the event. The enigmatic head judge of the fair, Tazarant, placed a great deal of faith in Dovin's skill. After all, the vedalken had proven to be exceptionally talented when it came to perfecting the plans of the consulate. With the head judge's approval, Dovin would take steps to help ensure the security at the Inventors' Fair. Though he rarely left his home on Kaladesh, Baan was still aware of interplanar affairs. Through the grapevine, he had heard of an organization called the Gatewatch, one that offered aid against threats to the multiverse. Dovin traveled to the Gatewatch's headquarters on the city world of Ravnica, where he attempted to gain their help in securing peace at the fair. However, with the knowledge that the threat to the fair was a purely local one, the assembled planeswalkers refused to provide aid. The Gatewatch, they explained, was a group dedicated to fighting interplanar threats, chiefly planeswalkers. With the Renegades being a Kaladesh issue alone, they did not see it as their place to intervene. Still, Dovin Baan was received warmly and was offered their hospitality. He spent a brief period in their company, learning about them and how they lived their lives. But during his stay with the Gatewatch, it came to light that two of their members, Chandra and Liliana, had planeswalked away. Unbeknown to Baan, his visit prompted Chandra to return to her home, to Kaladesh. Dovin was surprised to hear Chandra's family name, Nalar, and divulged to those present, Nissa, Jace, and Gideon, of her past. Chandra's parents, Pia and Kiran Nalar, were criminals 12 years ago. During an attempt to arrest the Nalars, their village was burned down, and all three were reported dead. Dovin Baan returned to Kaladesh, alongside the elf Nissa Ravine, who wished to find and help Chandra. The pair arrived, however, just as Chandra's mother, Pia Nalar, Renegade Prime herself, was being arrested. Nissa went to join Chandra in the crowd, and Dovin, recognizing the threat the pyromancer presented, ordered Consulate Gearhulks forward to isolate Nalar and minimize the risk of injuries to all present. But even as Chandra blasted away at the machines, Pia surrendered herself into custody willingly. Chandra, alongside Nissa and Liliana, escaped into the crowd, and Dovin, with Renegade Prime in custody, hoped that the matter of the Renegade threat was finally behind them all. Unfortunately for Baan, the ending of the Inventors' Fair was a chaotic affair. During the grand finale of the event, the head judge declared that the winner of the fair was the elf Rashmi, who created a teleportation device of great interest. However, before this event came to a close, Tezzeret had one last show to put on for the crowd, one final exhibition, a quicksmithing duel between himself and Renegade Prime, Pia Nalar. Though Tezzeret displayed this as a glorious, sporting execution to the crowd, in reality, this duel served as bait to draw Chandra and her friends out of hiding. In addition, it served as a distraction, a smokescreen, while he put his plans into motion and had consulate agents begin confiscating the inventions of the fair. The Gatewatch appeared, just as Tezzeret anticipated, and assaulted the villainous artificer, but he was able to escape into the flying ship, the Sky Sovereign. The interruption of the match, the seizure of inventions, and the chaos of the crowd served to spark the event known as the Aether Revolt, where the Renegades were emboldened to fight against the consulate forces. During all of this, Dovin Baan was doing his best to maintain order. As consulate agents confiscated devices and upset inventors, Baan barked orders, instructing his men on how to most safely move inventions and to placate the inventors. Dovin approached Tezzeret, incredulous at the chaos the head judge's actions had caused, and at the same time worried that he would be blamed for inadvertently bringing the Gatewatch to Kaladesh. Tezzeret rationalized his actions, telling Baan that the machines of the fair were confiscated for the good of all, and that they had to be protected from the renegades who may misuse them. Furthermore, he argued that these inventions needed to be studied, with Rashmi's teleporter in particular needing Tezzeret's direct observation. Tezzeret told of the great era of innovation that would emerge thanks to these devices, and how all would surely be grateful for the new prosperity they would bring. He even offered Baan a high position in this new society, all honeyed words to placate the Vedalken. Dovin Baan was tasked with tending to the Gatewatch, these interplanar interlopers who so brazenly interrupted the inventor's fair. Baan assembled a unit of veteran soldiers, tasking them with pursuing the Gatewatch, telling them of the group's exploitable weaknesses that he knew, and while those soldiers went to work, Dovin would tend to the people. With his own calculating yet compassionate methods, Dovin Baan assisted the consulate agents with securing further inventions, calming the inventors by reminding them that their beloved creations would be in safe hands. After some time performing crowd control duties or spending time in the storage facility overseeing the inspection of the confiscated devices, Dovin Baan would be called to the Sky Sovereign by Tezzeret. As it turned out, the battle against the renegades was going poorly, and they managed to capture the central Aether Hub. Tezzeret, growing more furious with each renegade victory, ordered Dovin to come up with a plan. Baan carefully formulated a strategy that would allow them to retake the Aether Hub, a plan he estimated had an 85% chance of success. But Dovin would not be the one to execute this plan. No, Tezzeret would oversee it personally. Instead, the Vedalken was tasked with accompanying the sadistic enforcer, Dovin Baan, as the latter went off to attack Chandra Nalaar. As Baral battled with Nalaar and her allies, Dovin and his men kept a safe distance. Baan had little care for the inspector, and his primary concern was still minimizing damage. But as the fight unfolded, and Baral taunted Chandra, Dovin paid close attention. Baral bragged about how he had ruined the young pyromancer's life, how he killed her father and imprisoned her mother. Dovin disdainfully had every last word recorded. It was not until Baral lay defeated, exhausted on the ground, that Dovin and his men approached. As Chandra and the others escaped, Dovin's attentions were focused solely on the man at his feet. Chief Inspector Dovin Baan, I charge you with 1 count of murder, possibly with more yet to be uncovered, and 1 count of attempted murder. I charge you with 1 count of extrajudicial incarceration, again, possibly with more to be revealed. Finally, I charge you with multiple counts of falsification of the public record, with the express intention of obscuring your crimes. Baral protested, insisting that Dovin chase down Chandra, but the Vedalken was impassive. The Aether Hub was reclaimed successfully, and it was unlikely that the renegades would be a further threat. No, Dovin Baan would return to the consulate, with Baral incarcerated for his crimes. To Dovin Baan's surprise, the renegades were not as defeated as he believed. The Gatewatch, a group he initially reached out to for help, had turned out to be very good at rallying support and raising morale for this insurgency. Clearly, Dovin's contact with the Gatewatch was a serious mistake, one he sought to rectify. Baan deduced that the rebels' plans hinged upon a single, specialized thopter, the Hope of Girapur. Aboard the Heart of Kirin, right in front of Chandra, Dovin sabotaged this thopter, destroying its payload. Believing his mistake to be rectified, Baan planeswalked away, advising Chandra to evacuate the crew and leaving the planeswalker to her own explosive fury. Despite Dovin Baan's actions, the revolution was a success, but by then the vedalken's interests took him elsewhere. Suspecting that someone else was orchestrating Tezzeret's plans behind the scenes, Baan began a search for the Artificer's hidden master. His investigation brought Dovin face to face with a being more dangerous and cunning than any he had encountered before, the Elder Dragon Planeswalker, Nicol Bolas. The details of Baan's first meeting with Bolas are largely unknown, but the vedalken found himself impressed by the dragon's intellect and planning. When Nicol Bolas offered Dovin a chance to reshape a plane into one of perfect order, the vedalken practically jumped at the chance. The dragon had great plans for the city world of Ravnica, and Baan had desires of his own to improve and perfect the mystical guild system. And so, under the direction of his new master, Dovin Baan traveled to Ravnica and infiltrated the Azorius Senate, the Guild of Laws and Order. With his ability to see flaws in all things, Baan was able to masterfully manipulate the system in place and climb the Azorius ranks. Loopholes were exploited, meetings were rescheduled, the right paperwork was tended to, and, in a short amount of time, Dovin Baan became the head of the Liev Column, one of the 3 ruling bodies of the Azorius Senate, and the branch dedicated to enforcing laws. In his new position as Grand Arbiter, Baan was well poised to manipulate affairs and gather intelligence. He was present when Ral Zarek proposed a guild summit to Esperia and Aurelia, and also observed the finishing touches that were put in place for the interplanar beacon. When the Gorgon Planeswalker and Guildmaster of the Golgari, Vraska, petrified Esperia, Dovin Baan stepped up as the new master of the Azorius. Promising his guild's continued aid against the coming threat of Nicol Bolas, Baan, in truth, began accelerating his own undermining efforts. He divulged the plans for creating thopters to the guild for use as spies, increasing his information network. In addition, Dovin authorized the use of precognitive mages, meaning that Ravnican citizens were now being arrested without ever having committed a crime. These actions drove several in the Senate to oppose Baan, such as Lavinia, who went into hiding to avoid his spy network. Finally, as the confrontation with Nicol Bolas drew close, Dovin Baan stepped in and sabotaged Ral Zarek and Niv Mizzet's plans to give the Firemind all the powers of the Living Guild Pact. With this, the Izzet's Guildmaster was doomed to fail when he confronted Nicol Bolas. During the War of the Spark, Dovin Baan was tasked with defending the Immortal Sun by his master. This artifact, recently pilfered from the plane of Ixalan, prevented planeswalkers from escaping Ravnica while it was active. A team composed of Chandra Nalar, Sahili Rai, and Lavinia took up the task of turning off the Immortal Sun. a confrontation broke out between the group and Dovin Baan, who utilized a mass of thopters to protect himself from Chandra's fire blasts and render her attacks ineffective. To Dovin's surprise, however, a blast of flame came not from the Chandra he was facing, but from another one below him. The Nalar he had used his thopters against was, in reality, Lazav, the guildmaster of the Dimir, who then threw a pair of throwing blades into the vedalken's eyes. Defeated and blinded, Dovin Baan was forced to planeswalk away as the immortal sun was deactivated, though he did not stay off of Ravnica for long. After the defeat of Nicobolus, Niv Mizzet, revived and now the living guild pact, tasked Vraska with hunting down and slaying Dovin Baan for his part in Bolus's plans. The Gorgon did not have to look for the vedalken long. Though he initially returned to Kaladesh, Dovin would make his way back to a safe house he had prepared some time ago on Ravnica. Here, he began working on restoring his eyesight through artifice, but was interrupted when Vraska tracked him down. Though she could have easily slain him, Dovin was able to bargain for his life by offering her a plan to remove all threats to her authority within the Golgari. And so, on the plain of Regatha, Dovin Baan's death was staged, with Chandra Nalar incidentally being used as an unsuspecting accomplice to the deed. Taking Baan's right hand as proof, Vraska returned to Ravnica and reported back to the Firemind. Dovin would also return to his safe house, but his tale was now coming to an end. So soon after he believed his troubles to be finally over, the vedalken was assassinated by Atkos Tar, the vampiric alter ego of Arathia Shakta. Far from home, having accomplished none of his own goals, Dovin Baan ultimately died as nothing more than to provide a means for Atkos's master Lazav to blackmail Vraska. Dovin Baan was first introduced in the Kaladesh set as a white-blue planeswalker that imposed restrictions on your opponent and their creatures. Costing 2 generic mana, 1 white mana, and 1 blue mana, Dovin Baan enters play with 3 starting loyalty. His +1 loyalty ability gives a target creature -3 -0 and turns off their activated abilities until your next turn, while his -1 nets you 2 life and a card draw. Finally, his ultimate ability, costing 7 loyalty, provides you an emblem that prevents your opponents from untapping more than 2 permanents during their untap steps. This card shows well that Baan is the kind of individual who does not fight his enemies. He instead carefully removes their ability to be threatening. Dovin would receive 3 more Planeswalker cards over the next few years, but with his death during the possibly canon War of the Spark Forsaken, it is unlikely that he will receive more cards in the future. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like or sharing this video with your friends. If you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, you'll be alerted whenever I upload new videos. If you have a topic you'd like me to discuss, feel free to let me know in the comments section below. Finally, if you'd like to support me directly, well, I've created a Patreon for this channel. If you like what I do and want to help me out, go check it out. A link to it will be in the description below. Thanks again, and have a great day.